think there's a conversation in our society that we're not willing to have, and people aren't willing to come forward and say, you know what, for me and for my health, I need to sleep alone.
In today's episode with acupuncturist Christy Giroux, we're going to talk about why sleep is the most underrated anti-aging habit and how nature helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Sleep is the one thing almost every high-performing adult sacrifices, and then wonders why recovery feels harder, why they feel so old, and why they feel so stinking tired all the time. Think about it. We optimize our workouts, we fuss over macronutrients and hyper-focus on dialing in nutrition. We pay attention to getting 10,000 steps a day, but sleep becomes negotiable. Here's what the evidence shows. Sleep isn't passive and it isn't negotiable. It's when the brain and the central nervous system repair. It's a necessity for proper hormonal, nervous system, and mood regulation. Today's episode is special for me because my guest, Christy, and I go back more than 20 years. Back to our early days working together at the Sports Club LA in Washington, D.C. Even then, we were surrounded by driven, ambitious people and professionals who were pushing their bodies hard and their minds harder, all while quietly running on empty. Fast forward 2 decades, and Christy has embarked on a new and powerful practice in acupuncture and somatic healing, helping people understand the difference between orthopedic pain and stored trauma, between exhaustion and nervous system dysregulation, between reacting to symptoms and practicing true preventative care. And we're releasing this conversation on Chinese New Year, a time rooted in renewal, balance, and living in harmony with nature's cycles. There's no better moment to talk about aligning with our sleep, our light exposure, our breath, and our rhythms with something bigger than our calendars and screens. In this episode, we explore why sleep is the most underrated anti-aging practice, how pets and partners influence sleep quality, and why I have such strong opinions about this, how screens and artificial light impact our circadian rhythm and ability to get strong Z's, the role of acupuncture in nervous system regulation, and how living in harmony with nature isn't some poetic idea. It's preventative medicine, and I might add, it's what our ancestors knew every day. It's how we got here. If you care about aging well, recovering deeply, and building a resilient nervous system, let's dive into my conversation with my friend and colleague, acupuncturist Christy Giroux. Welcome to The Mindful Trainer. I'm your host, Melanie Webb, and I'm joined today by my longtime colleague and friend, Christy Giroux. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Melanie.
So let me introduce you all to Christy. She graduated from Ithaca College with a degree in exercise science, and then she went on to spend 20 years in the fitness and health industry, working with some of the major brands there, including the Sports Club LA, which is where we met, and TRX, which I think a lot of us who work out will be familiar with. You and your husband owned a fitness studio in Gaithersburg, Maryland, where you went on to enroll in Maryland University of Integrative Health. And after 3 years, you earned your Master of Acupuncture and became licensed in the state of Maryland. Mm-hmm. And you're currently enrolled in the Doctor of Acupuncture program at Wan Institute of Graduate Studies.
Yes.
Amazing trajectory.
Oh, thank you.
One of the things I really love about watching you pursue these advanced degrees is that it's so evident that health and wellness is not just a job for you, but it really is your lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I think you can relate to that.
Very much, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, again, just to shoot the breeze and talk shop with my colleagues and friends. And
I love it.
I learned so much from all of you. I just want to share, Christy was the most amazing fitness manager to work for almost 5 years of my training career. You handled a group of 30 full-time trainers, full-time in one place, which is so remarkable. And you did it with so much grace and ease.
Oh, thank you. I felt like that time in our life was like really special. And I felt like we were all where we were supposed to be. And we all really learned a lot from one another.
We did.
and kind of grew up together in a little like, in a way, and it felt a lot more like a family to me than it did a job.
It did
Yeah.
to me as well. Like, we genuinely liked each other and spent time together and being in each other's lives. I am really excited about our topic of conversation today. And as I thought about it and prepared for it, I hope that it flows well for the listeners because I have so many things I want to talk to you about now that you're
Okay.
practicing acupuncture. And one of those, which I think we'll spend a decent amount of time on today, is the importance of sleep.
Yes.
So, I think back to those days at the Sports Club LA, and we trainers valued our sleep so much, and we viewed it as kind of an anti-aging hack that we actually had a sleep room. It had bunk beds in it, nice purple lighting, and it was a very quiet, safe space for us to go because many of us started work really early in the morning, and you never knew like how late we would go, or back-to-back clients, 6 or 8 or 10 clients a day, and sometimes you just needed a little quiet space. So
Mhm.
that was like our little sanctuary.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think we were a little ahead of the curve too back
Oh,
then,
yeah.
right? Because people like now you hear about sleep hygiene all the time. They're talking about anti-aging and our stress levels and all of that. But back then, that was not like headline news by
Oh,
any
no.
means. And I
Wellness
think
wasn't either.
no. So I think it was back then, it was almost like a necessity for you guys. We need a place. We need a place that we can have downtime that's not the cafe, that's not the fitness floor, just to not be stimulated, even if it was for 20 minutes.
So to date this, well, this was like 2004, so that's how far back we're going.
Yeah, it was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
I
Oh my
think you're right.
gosh.
We were ahead of the curve. I hear it all the time, people sacrificing sleep for work, family life,
Mhm.
vacation. The list is endless, the things we're willing to sacrifice our sleep for, and I wonder what you would say that if we quit viewing sleep as a luxury, what's something people would stop doing immediately, and how might they change their approach to sleep hygiene?
I think that our phones have become a real issue for all of us. And I think that people spend time scrolling at night. It's also like the first thing people grab in the morning, whether they're using their phone as their alarm or whatever it is. It's like the first thing we grab, and then we're looking at the screen, and then we start scrolling, and then we're getting stimulated. I mean, from the second we wake up, the second our eyes open. But I think we're sacrificing everything right now and not prioritizing sleep. And I think it's one of those things that is the most like, we could have the most control over is our sleep, right? Like, we are adults and we can put ourselves to bed at 9:30 PM. Like, right? Like, we don't have parents that are saying, like, "It's your bedtime," but, like, we could take responsibility and actually put ourselves, like, on a schedule and, like, a sleep schedule. And I do that. Like, my bedtime is between 9:30 PM and 10 PM, like, lights out by 10 o'clock without question. And I also stop looking at my phone, like, an hour or so before I go to bed. But I think and I don't know if this is answering your question, but I think, if even if we look at cortisol levels with
Huh.
people, like, always being on and always being on their phone, and the work and the stress and, like, trying to keep up with the Joneses and all this pressure we put on ourselves, I think we would see such a change in overall stress levels, cortisol levels, mood. Like, I think our moods are really affected and we become really short-tempered, all of it. I think that if sleep was the one thing people changed, they would see, like, just a cascade of different health benefits from it.
Outstanding. I want to put a pin in that sentence that you just said right there, that sleep is something we do have some control over if we'll
Yeah.
discipline ourselves to do so. And all right, since this is my podcast, I am going to ask you this next question that I never hear discussed or read about when I'm reading about sleep articles. I think I've seen it once in the last 5 years. Let's talk about pets in the bed and spouses in the
Ooh.
bed and different
Ooh.
nervous systems. I never see anyone address that. But I'll hear from client after client after client. And I know in my own personal life, like what works for me and what does not work for me. And I don't think we're willing to have a public discussion that makes it okay for my biology to be different than your biology. Right?
Yes.
And nobody's willing to go there. I wonder if you've noticed the same thing.
So I've read different studies where they talk about oftentimes women sleep better with a pet
Is
in
that
bed
right?
with them than men.
Really?
And men sleep better with a partner in bed, like versus women having a partner in bed. So I think it's like regulating to a man's nervous system to have their partner with them, where it's not the same regulation for a woman.
That
Yeah. And so there are like I think they're starting to study that and look at it, but I think you're right. I think there's a conversation in our society that we're not willing to have, and people aren't willing to come forward and say, "You know what, for me and for my health, I need to sleep alone." Or I need to sleep in a different room, or I need like people like way back when there were like 2 twin beds in a room, I think they were onto something.
I do too, between you and I, and all of my
Mhm.
clients who tell me the same thing.
Yeah, and I think too for women as we start going through like hormonal changes too, I think our sleep is already being disrupted by different drops in hormones, but then we're also affecting our partners because we're tossing and turning or
Yeah.
we're hot or we're right, and so we're hot, they're cold, like it's like a mess. But I think that I don't know if it's a society thing where we're scared like, "Oh, it's gonna signal that our relationship is in trouble," or I'm being selfish because I need to put my sleep ahead of my partner's or right? So I don't I feel like it's a really tricky question.
It is, and it is
Yeah.
there is so much cultural undertone to it because for me as a, exercise scientist, I'm like, "Look, sleep is a non-negotiable biological necessity. You
Mhm.
have your nervous system and your biology over there, I've got mine. This is a scientific decision," but it doesn't land that way for everyone, and I respect that.
It also makes sense. We talk about nervous system regulation and the importance of that, and I think a lot of us aren't regulated and we're so overstimulated all day long, and then to get in bed and have to, like, manage someone else's nervous system, it's like we don't get that down regulation time, which is
Yeah.
so crucial, right?
I've been really wanting to hear your perspective also of how acupuncture is so connected to the harmony of nature.
So it's really interesting. There's so many different schools when it comes to East Asian medicine, and there's different philosophies, there are different techniques. But one school of thought when you look at East Asian medicine is actually called five element acupuncture, which is really tied into the natural world. And so it looks at 5 elements, right? So we've got fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And it kind of makes this beautiful like cycle. And within all of us are all of those elements. You can have disharmony in a certain element. So you could have disharmony in like the fire element, and that would affect the earth. It would also affect the metal. And so it's like this trickle down effect where if I have a disharmony in a certain element, just like if you look in nature, right? If we have a forest fire, like how does that trickle down and affect all the other areas of the natural world? And it affects all of it, right? There's no you have a natural disaster, nothing is not going to be affected, right? So if we look at the natural world, and I like to look at animals because they are as natural as it gets, right? If you watch the rhythm of their bodies, that is how we should be living. They live in harmony with nature. We live in disharmony with nature, whether that's fluorescent lights overhead, cell phones, sitting all day, sitting behind a desk, driving to and from work, eating processed foods. We very much, as humans, live in disharmony with nature. So if we want to come to like a state of healthier living, we have to live in harmony with nature. So that's, eating within the season. The fruits and vegetables that are ripe and are like in season. If we start eating that way, then we're getting the nutrients that our body needs at the peak time of those foods, right? You can also look at like what plant life is doing, what the trees are doing. So if you follow the life cycle of a tree, right? In the spring, the buds start to come up, right? And so that is like yang energy emerging, right? So we're here emerging up and out. And that's when we start to like break through the ground, break through the frozen ground, right? And we've got our first little like daffodil coming up. And then it hits its peak bloom, which is more like summer. And summer is like when things are like at its peak. And then we move into the fall and the leaves start to fall. Like they turn beautiful colors, then they fall off the tree because the tree no longer needs those. It needs to conserve its energy as it moves into the winter, which is like the more yin time of year. And so yin is all about like storing and creating our reserves so that we have the energy to bust forth again in the spring. So if we look at that as like humans during the winter, so we actually just came out of winter. So we've already started spring according to the lunar calendar.
Oh, is that right?
Spring started on February 4th. And so the winter, we should have been resting. We should have been eating like really warm food. We should be sleeping longer hours. Like it's a very yin time. So you create your stores that are going to last you throughout the year, right? So February 4th, we move into spring. And what that is like the energetic. So if you think about what's starting to happen underground, is things are just starting to like agitate, right? So there's no like upward movement, but it's like that tiny movement. So you can probably feel it in yourself. Like people will start to get a little more frustrated when they're driving, or you're like, I don't know, you have like an outburst for no reason. You're just like you've just got this like agitation because it's like you're not ready to be like fully sprung, but you feel like something happening in you. So your sleep might be off. You might be
Mm.
waking up at like 2 in the morning and you're like, what is going on? So we're already there. And then when we get to the spring equinox, that's actually peak of spring in the lunar calendar. It's just a different way of looking at it. So the lunar calendar looks at like the energetic of nature and what's happening in nature. By the time we hit the equinox, we have flowers, right? Like we have
Yeah.
plants have like started to turn green. Our grass is starting to turn a little bit greener. Things are happening in the natural world. So if you kind of watch that and you start to mirror that, what's happening outside and how could I be taking that inside in my home to match that? We'd be a lot healthier.
Well, that just makes complete sense.
Yeah, it does. And like, it was funny. I had a teacher in school that used to talk about the holidays and how like the holidays are like the worst thing ever because we put all these like artificial lights in our house and we have, we light up a tree and we've got candles going. We've got light, 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 light. And
Oh.
really, it should be a time of like darkness. And we should be, dimming our lights inside our home to match the sun. But we don't. We fight it. We turn lights on as it gets dark and we like re-stimulate our nervous system instead of allowing it to come down.
If we kind of bring back how all that light affects our nervous system, and if we're able to live in sync with our own circadian rhythms,
Hmm.
which are, heavily influenced by light, the 24-hour cycle and the bigger seasonal cycle is what I'm
Hmm.
catching from you. Like, what do you think it is about modern life that makes us forget that?
We're under a societal pressure to do. More is better. I mean, that's in everything. People think more exercise is better, more weight is better. I'm going to go all in on this diet and I'm only going to eat this way, right? And it's all this yang energy that's out like all the time. And if we focused a little bit more on the yin and the rest and the recovery and the things that we do, like meditation, our spiritual practices, we'd be much better regulated. But we're a yang society. It's like out, out, out. Everything's out. We've got to give every like last bit of our energy until we're drained or we haven't done enough. It's really sad.
It is really sad, and I think I also experience it as an emptiness and a hollowness. Like, not only do I have to go out, 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 but I have to grab, grab, grab. Like,
Hmm.
I have to fill this up. Just looking around, and I think some things happening everywhere, right? It's like there's some personalities that just cannot be filled.
Yes.
But I wonder, and I notice it in myself, if I'm unwilling to sit in my meditation practice or my, um, and those can take so many different forms, is what I wish more people understood. And
Hmm.
that there's a way to experiment in a fun way until you find the one that works for you.
Yeah.
And then maybe it won't always be the one that works for you, but you work at it and it's a discipline I like to say recovery is as much a discipline as the training practice itself. Like it is part of the pie. It's a piece of this that if you're not doing it, it's incomplete.
Yes, and it's a large piece. It's a larger piece than people
Mm.
wanna admit, and I think you bring up a good point. Like, I always thought for meditation, I had to sit, like, cross legs, in a room, close my eyes, and, like, completely quiet my mind, and I could never do that. But for me, meditation is going for a walk in the woods without stimulus. So, not listening to
Yeah.
music, not listening to my favorite podcast, Melanie Webb, and not, just not having input other than the sounds of nature, the sounds
Yeah.
of my breath, my feet crackling, the leaves underneath me. And that has become my most consistent form of meditation.
That is lovely. A moving
Yeah.
meditation and a
Mhm.
walking meditation, which I think is the most human thing we can possibly do, is going for a walk outdoors.
Absolutely. And it checks like
Yeah.
so many boxes.
Yeah, there's actually been so many studies done about that, and I'm sure you're very well versed in forest bathing,
Yes.
where they, put,
The
probes, I don't
electrodes. Yeah.
yes, electrodes on people's brain and measured literally, like, the prefrontal cortex of our brain gets a little restful break when we're taking a walk in nature compared to taking a walk in a noisy urban environment,
Mhm.
and then also our systolic blood pressure drops by up to 10 points.
Right. It's
So,
crazy.
yeah, we don't think about all the stimulation.
Right. And that's something that's so simple to do. It doesn't require equipment. It doesn't, right? It doesn't require anything other than your time. And even if it's 20 minutes, like it doesn't, I think people are like, oh my gosh, that's such a process. And I have to go for so long, but you really don't. Like your nervous system responds pretty quickly if you give it the right environment.
The right environment, yeah, to nurture our nervous system. I love the fact that the nervous system is coming front and center more,
Me too.
and the idea of regulation and being dysregulated, and I think you made such a great point as, as we look at society and community and groups versus just the one that if society at large is in this constantly agitated state, it's gonna be manifest in the events that we see around us.
Hmm.
So it makes
Yeah.
me think about that ripple effect and how I really am responsible for how I show up in the world.
Yes. Yes. 100%. More than we realize. And I think, I don't know that people want to take that responsibility because it's
Mm.
big.
It is big.
Right? But every interaction you have with somebody, whether
Mm.
you are honking your horn at them or whether you smile at them, then affects their day and how they affect the people around them. But we are all connected 100%. And that's like to go back to the whole living in nature. Like we are just a small part of this massive world. And the natural world is, it's what we should be mirroring, not like competing with, you know?
Competing is the perfect word for this because I view nature as abundant and ever giving, right? And it has plenty for everyone, but not when we're being like unsatiated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're not respecting it.
And we have entire economies built on scarcity. Like
Yes.
it's
Yes.
so disharmonious.
Yes.
So,
No.
how do you work with your clients to manage these forces?
What's been so interesting to me is I feel like somebody will come in and not be manic, but just kind of like all over the place, like squirrel, squirrel. Like I had this and then I was doing this and my kid has this. And as soon as they lay down on a table I make them take their watch off, they have to put their phone on silent, like there can be no outside distraction. The first thing I notice is a deep breath. And I don't think how many people realize that they're not breathing throughout the day,
Uh,
right? Or they're like just breathing right here and they wonder why they're like here and they're all tight and everything. And it's like, we forgot how to breathe.
yeah.
And that's like the first thing we can do to kind of regulate our nervous system and bring it down is just take a deep breath. And so it's the first thing I have people do when they lay down is you have to take a deep breath. And I remind people because they immediately go back to like up here, up here, up here. And I like throughout, I'll put my hand on their back or on their belly and just say, I need you to breathe into my hand, breathe into my hand. And
Mhm.
the fact that we have to remind ourselves to breathe shows you where we are.
We're in a real holding state.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are.
defensive and on guard and if not full on aggressive. It's aggressor
Yeah.
or it's defender.
And our bodies are feeling it, like, our fascia's tightening because of it, and you look at, like, all the postural I mean, I'm sure you see this all the time with your clients, like, posture is just getting so awful, and part of it's because we're always
Mhm.
here, because we're always stressed, and we're like, we don't know what's gonna come next. Yeah,
Literally.
literally.
Yeah, I think everyone knows what we're talking about here. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, it is.
I make a request of my clients and like, please find a body worker who
Mm,
you enjoy working with. For me, I have my people I go to, and they are so important, helping me regulate my nervous system, keeping my body in alignment, releasing those holding patterns and twisty old injury patterns in my old body. It's such an important part, again, of the whole in my life that I want to see others enjoy it.
I love that you're referring to body workers, like, I'm hoping that we're starting a trend of wellness and not just, like, disease, right? Like, I think people are starting to say, like, "Wait a second, I can go get a massage every month, and I can go to acupuncture once a month, and I can see my trainer, and I can do all of these really positive things for myself to help versus just waiting until something's broken."
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And I've been at fault for that myself. Like, I'll
Yeah.
call my massage therapist to be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to see you tomorrow because I hurt my back," instead of just being preventative, right? And saying, "No, I have a standing appointment and this is a non-negotiable for me."
Yes. Amen, sister.
Yeah.
I have one of those every month. And then I have my guy who's my emergency go-to too, like, "Oh, here, my back's out."
Yeah, like I tweaked something, I woke up weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we all have it, but I really I'm hoping I feel like
Mm.
more and more people are talking about it, and I really hope that we start getting into more prevention and being less reactive, and that right there will help our nervous system regulation if we stop just being reactive. I love when a patient comes in and they're like, "I don't really have anything that I wanna work on today," and I'm like, "Oh, yay, okay,
Right?
perfect," right? Because then I know that we're working on just keeping their qi moving, keeping their blood moving,
Mm.
relaxing, like stress reduction. And that's so beautiful when it's not like, "Oh, I'm in pain, my knee hurts. Oh, I woke up and my foot's swollen," right? It's like, "Oh, you're still keeping this appointment because you know it's important and you know you're gonna leave feeling even better." And that's great.
Yeah, and you know who I learned this from? I don't know if you remember her, Barbara Crane. We remained friends for a long time. This was a client I had when I trained at the Sports Club LA. So she was, 30 years older than I was at least, and showed me the way of self-care. Like, she was at a stage of her life where she had created these preventative, regular things that were so much of the part of the fabric of her life. And I, as her strength trainer, I was one of the cogs in that whole system that kept Barbara healthy and moving forward. And having someone like that in my life that gave me permission to explore. And, I think maybe we all just sometimes need to be given permission to do these things that perhaps we've been told are self-indulgent
Mhm.
or
A luxury.
a luxury. They're no longer luxuries or self-indulgence. Going back to everything we've just been discussing, they are critical.
Yes. They're necessary, 100%.
They address the different aspects of the human physiology and
Yes.
psyche.
And I love that you talk about, like, you have a team, like, working for you. I have a patient who is a chiropractor, and she comes to me regularly once a week, and we've talked about that, like and we talk to our patients about it, like because somebody will say, like, "Oh, do you get acupuncture? Do you get massage?" And I'm like, "Yes. Yes, I get all of those things. I have a team of people." Like, this is this happens because of that, right? Like, I'm allowed to be here for you and helping you
Oh, yeah.
because of a team. I don't think people realize that. I mean, you know this, right? Like, your clients are like, "Oh, you like doing all of this, and you're just healthy, and you're young," and it's like, "No, no, I work at all of these things."
Like, there's a lot of baggage that's coming in this body, and for me to hold this space for you, this is a discipline that I take very seriously, that preparation to be
Right?
able to do that work. Absolutely. I love asking the question, "Who's on your team?"
Yeah.
We can't do it by ourselves, we're not designed
No,
to be that way.
no, we need to be in community. Yeah.
Yes. It's really important to me that I learned from you about the Chinese New Year
Ooh,
before we end this conversation because it's happening. It's this week.
it
And I
is.
think
It's
I understand.
happening. So we're celebrating on February 17th. And I'm sure you have seen on social media that we're moving from the year of the snake into the year of the horse. And it's a very exciting time. So this past year, 2025, was the year of the yin wood snake. So, I mean, we're talking like low energy, right? Think about like a snake. It's very like in its direction. It's not very flexible. It's just kind of going. These last few days, a lot of people are starting to feel really unsettled and maybe agitated, maybe frustrated, maybe like burdened or like heavy. And it's because the snake's sole job is to shed. So over the next few days, it's all
Ah.
about like shedding and letting go of the things that we don't need that aren't serving us body, mind, or spirit, letting go of those. So organizing your home, clean your doorways, clean your windows, get everything set for like the new. So you're getting like just shedding everything. It's a good time to purge. So go in your closet, give away things you aren't wearing anymore, go through your pantry, get rid of any foods you don't want, like purge, shed. And as we move into next week, it's going to be a yang fire horse, which is going to be energetic and it's young and it's joyful and
Ooh.
it's like, but it's also grounded. So you think about a horse, even though a horse is like strong and it's moving forward, it's also very grounded and very stable. So it's going to be really important this year because we can get like all caught up in like the energy and the excitement of everything to make sure we're incorporating those practices that you talked about. So the meditation, the walking in the woods, the float tanks, all those things that kind of bring our yang back down to center so that we don't get like manic and like burnout. Because fire can be like a candle or fire can be like a bonfire, right? Like going all
Right.
over the place. So we want to control that fire, stay grounded, stay stable, but it's exciting. There's like a lot of energy and a lot of like forward movement that we're going into. So people are really excited and we haven't had a year like this since 1966. So it's exciting. It's a 60-year cycle.
It's a 60-year cycle, really.
It is. So you've got like there's different like there's numerology within Chinese medicine too. So this will be like we're completing a 9 as the snake is a 9 year, so it's a completion. So that's the other reason like it's really important to like shed so that we go into a new year like fresh and new and like youthful. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting like in this community that I am now a part of. It's very exciting. And it's definitely a celebration.
So how will you be celebrating?
So I have already cleaned my windows and I've cleaned my doorways. So I've done that. I'm going to be treating patients that day. So I'm hoping that I can bring a lot of like good, like solid grounding energy. And we'll probably do dumplings for dinner
Oh,
that night too. And it's important to wear like color that day.
red?
Yeah,
Chinese
you
New
can
Year is
wear
red
red.
typically?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, I try to avoid like wearing black and white that day. It's more
Okay.
about like color. It's a celebration. And so that way you bring joy and color into your life.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. East Asian medicine is the most beautiful. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years and it has opened my eyes in
Mm.
studying it to just a totally different way of thinking, but in a way of thinking that feels really grounded and very natural.
The way you've been able to bring in the Eastern to complement all your Western education and experience in the body. Well, I want everyone to catch this Chinese New Year energy. So tell us where they can connect with you and watch your work.
So I'm on Instagram at Balance Acupuncture MD. I have a Facebook page. I'll post meditations and I'll post recipes that are nourishing for like the certain time of like based on the element that we're in within the year and the season. I think you would really enjoy that.
Thank you for making the time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. You're amazing.
Not only did I thoroughly enjoy talking shop with my friend Christy, but the conversation reminds me that a well executed health and fitness practice isn't waiting for things to go wrong before you react. It's actually a lot more relational than that. It's how we relate to all of our biological rhythms, including that thing that happens when we aren't paying attention. our sleep. And there are nature's rhythms to take into consideration. The breath, the seasons, light and dark hours of the day, and to each other and to who's on our team. In other words, sleep is not a luxury. As we step into a new lunar year, it's a powerful time to ask, where am I pushing against nature? And where am I flowing with it? Happy Chinese New Year, everybody. May this next cycle be one of deeper rest, stronger resilience, and true harmony for you. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. And if you want to explore more conversations like this, make sure you're subscribed to The Mindful Trainer. You can also visit webwell.com for training resources, outdoor-inspired wellness tools, and ways to work with me as you build your own body equity and resilience. The Mindful Trainer is the official podcast of WebWell. I'm your host, Melanie Webb. I'm also the founder and master trainer at WebWell. To learn more about WebWell and all we have to offer, please visit webwell.com. That's UEBBWELL. See you next time.